3 people died in that house that night. 3, I don't care about CTE. 3 people died in that house that night. Only 1 person had the choice behind it. Brock Lesnar was an OVW and he got tired of being an OVW, so he told WWE he's going back to Minnesota. So WWE started putting him on what's called dark matches. Dark matches are the matches that happen at television before the matches are taped for television, so that the creative team and Vince McMahon can take a look at you and how you look in the presentation with the lights and the audience and everything else. And Brock was in the ring early in the day during the show, and there was a bunch of these old-timers that at the time were producers, and they're giving him the worst advice ever. You should be a Russian. You should stand in the middle of the ring and do nothing and just let people bounce off of you. This is an NCAA Division I heavyweight champion whose combine number, you know what combine numbers are in football? Anybody know what that means? When Brock Lesnar went to try out for the Minnesota Vikings in 2004, right before Brock went to Phoenix, Arizona to try out for the Vikings, Brock flipped his motorcycle. He broke his jaw, which was wired, which he then cut off with a pair of pliers. He fractured his pelvis, and he tore his groin, which means from his belly button down to his knee, he was bruised. He was black and purple from his belly button down to his knee. This was within a week of going to camp. He showed up at camp at 295 pounds with a broken jaw, fractured pelvis, and a torn groin. And he ran the 100-yard dash and the quarter mile in Olympic qualifying time. Yeah! Think about the enormity of the athletic ability we're discussing. And this guy is in the ring as an NCAA Division I heavyweight champion, and people are saying to him, you should be a Russian. You should just stand there. Like he's the warlord or something. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? So here's Taz. And Taz was this huge amateur wrestling fan. And Taz goes up to Brock and says, hey, brother, they're giving you the wrong advice, brother. You don't want to do this. And Brock just says, yeah, I know, but I'm listening to what they tell me, and I got it. I know when to speak up and when not to. And Taz says, I want you to talk to somebody. And Taz brings him to me. And Taz starts telling me what these guys are telling him, and I just look at Brock. I say, you realize if you do what they're telling you, it will ruin you. You'll leave here in 6 months. And he goes, I get it. I said, you want me to talk to Vince about this? And he goes, yeah, I'd really like you to talk to Vince about this. Now, here's part of the story nobody knows. This was right, here comes what's going to be the headlines tomorrow from this show. This was right before WrestleMania in Toronto, 2002, which had that match between Hulk Hogan and The Rock that we all want to have that type of crowd reaction when you're in the ring, right? So I was scheduled to come back because I had left being an on-air position after Survivor Series when the WWF beat the Alliance. Remember the Alliance, WCW and ECW Alliance? And I left as commentary. There, you know, Jerry Lawler came back on the air, and I was off air. I was behind the scenes. And I was scheduled to come back on the air in 2002 at WrestleMania with Chris Benoit. And that was set. And I went to Vince 2 or 3 weeks before WrestleMania, and I said, hey, I'd like you to let me produce Brock Lesnar's matches. Oh, right ahead. Let's see what you can do with them. And I went to Brock, and I said, okay, pick an opponent. And the first 2 opponents that he picked for that week were Funaki and Spike Dudley. See, you think he's just some dumb farm boy from Webster, South Dakota. He knows what he's doing. Give me Funaki and Spike Dudley. And we were off to the races from there. He tossed them around. He beat the living crap out of them. He threw them every which way but Sunday, and probably on Sunday too. And I went back to Vince and I said, what do you think? And he goes, God damn, this guy is money. And we did it the next week, and we did it on the go-home week. So the night before WrestleMania, we're sitting in a production meeting going over the show. And we get to the Benoit match, and Vince mentions nothing about me and Benoit. And I look, Who's saying my boy? Why? Why? Yeah, you can admire his work all you want, but you know what? You can admire his work all you want, but I'll give you my take on it. Since you want to keep on yelling out my boy, 3 people died in that house that night. 3, I don't care about CTE. 3 people died in that house that night. Only 1 person had the choice behind it. The other 2 didn't have a choice to die. So if that's your boy, fuck you. As a performer, amongst the 5 greatest I've ever seen in my entire life. As a performer, loved having him in ECW, was going to make him the ECW World Heavyweight Champion, was going to put him in a feud with Eddie Guerrero that would have carried us. The very first pay-per-view was going to be Sabu versus Taz, Tommy Dreamer versus Raven, Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. If we had gone on pay-per-view in '96, that would have been our first pay-per-view. So as a talent, remarkable. As a human being, I don't care about CTE. I don't care what the reasons are. Nancy and Daniel had no option. He did. Fuck him. So we get to the Benoit match. And Vince doesn't even mention, and I'm going, well, I guess I'm not going to work with Chris Benoit. And I wait till after the meeting, because there's no reason to challenge him during the meeting. Obviously, he has something in mind. What am I going to do, pick a fight for no reason? And when the meeting's over, I look at him and I said, hey, this thing with Benoit, it's off. And he looks at me, he goes, I think I'm going to put you with Brock Lesnar. What do you think about that? Listen, I watched Brock Lesnar win the NCAA Division I Heavyweight Championship. I kept tabs. God, I would have loved to have him in ECW in 2000. I watched him break in. I watched his tapes from OVW. I watched his dark matches. I produced the last 3 weeks of his dark matches. I knew this was the next big thing. There was nothing and nobody like Brock Lesnar. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll be happy to work with Brock Lesnar. You know, give us a little time now. Get this act together. Oh, God damn it, you start the day after Mania. Okay. You got it. Watch out, though. Yeah, why is that? And I said, and here's the funny thing. And I said to Vince, you know, he's the next big thing. And Vince looks at me and goes, God damn it, Paul, that nickname would suck. Now, I have to tell you, I have butted heads with Vince McMahon for many, many years. And to his credit, he's been right most of the time in our arguments. I'll give him that because I'm his boy. I'm sucking his ass right now. But on that one, I can tell you I was right.